Mes amis, bonjour! Welcome to the C'est La Vie podcast, episode 10. I'm so excited to bring you guys the culmination of all the work we've been doing together for the past 6 months, all these conversations and explorations into communities around this province. I've learned so much, and from the bottom of my heart, have enjoyed every second of the ride. So let's jump right into episode 10. Today we're going to be having a conversation with two amazing local leaders. We're going to be capping off our conversations on belonging and identity and talking about how their community work has helped them feel deeper connections to Quebec and their communities as a whole. They're going to also provide some calls to action to talk to you guys about how you can get involved, how you can find your place here, and how you can really make your community your own. We're also going to be hearing some of Emma's music and some of Samara's poetry, so stay tuned because this is going to be an episode packed with great conversations and some local art that you will not want to miss. In last episode, we capped off breaking down some of these ideas of why building this sense of belonging in newcomers is so important, and how getting involved in your community facilitates the process for everyone. And this week, we're going to start off right where we left off and talk about how giving back to your community through work with community organizations not only helps your community, but also helps your personal growth in so many ways. These conversations help us build upon this mosaic of ideas and voices that exist in this province. And so with each episode, we aim to draw closer and closer to what that truly looks like. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into this conversation with Emma Ahern. Emma is a local artist from Quebec City, and she's going to be talking to us a bit today about her local community work as well as some of her music. So without further ado, Emma, introduce yourself and the wonderful work you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma. I am a musician. I play the oboe. I study at the Conservatory of Music in Quebec. I'm starting my master's in the fall. I am also into community work, especially for the English community of Quebec City. So I worked at Voice of English Speaking Quebec for 3 summers as a summer student. I worked on the Seniors Out and About program, where I organized and did outings with seniors, which I loved. I'm a people person, so I just loved working with the seniors and chatting with them. And also now I'm working at a new community organization called Regional Development Network as a project administration officer for the summer, working on different community profiles and stats.
That's really interesting. Tell me a bit about that new organization you're working.
Yes, so Regional Development Network, or RDN, is a new organization that was formed with the purpose of representing different regional organizations all across the province of Quebec. So basically, with focus on representation of rural organizations or more regional organizations. So there's organizations that span from Outaouais to the lower North Shore, even close to the Gulf de Saint Laurent. And I think that it's great because it really is a true community organization in the biggest sense of the word, where it kind of brings different community organizations for the English-speaking community from everywhere together as one big community, and tries to help them work on different goals and help them with the development of the English-speaking community.
That's really cool. That's like community organizationception almost. It's like a community organization helping all the other community organizations. That's really interesting. And I know you were talking to me a bit earlier about really being a big people person and, you know, getting to connect with those people, like you said, with the seniors project you were working on. What specifically about that brings you so much joy? Is it the connecting with past generations or connecting with people in your community? How do you feel that impacts you as a person?
I think that working with people is just the best, but in the sense that I just love social interaction, I guess, and understanding what's going through someone else's mind, or just bringing a little bit more joy to their day. And I think the intergenerational aspect of it as well, when I was working on helping to work on Seniors Out and About, was very interesting, because I feel like in general maybe we tend to forget the importance of the knowledge and heritage that seniors can offer us. And I think that just spending a little bit more time with them without necessarily having the true goal of learning more about heritage directly, you will learn regardless of how you spend your time with them. You will learn, and that's what's great. And I think that seniors, and especially in the English-speaking community of Quebec City, where it's kind of it is a minority community, that knowledge is even more important in a sense, where it kind of shows us where we come from and as a community, basically.
The value of having those conversations or learning about that heritage directly from people that have just experienced life from generations ago, that's something that you can't put a price tag on. It's the kind of experience that connects you to a place deeper than just living there. You know what I mean? So do you feel that through having these conversations with people from past generations or being involved in community work and community organization, do you feel that has tightened your connection with Quebec or your connection to your home province or home city?
I mean, okay, it made me realize that Quebec City is even more diverse than we tend to think, maybe. Obviously, we tend to think of bigger cities as the centers for diversity, whether it be cultural or language-wise. But I think Quebec City has proven to me that it is a great place to be in terms of diversity, but also in terms of community work. And I think that, yes, just being active and not only for work projects like what I did, but also volunteering a lot. I also volunteered at a VEC program that was the youth council, and we helped mentor youth. The young woman I was mentoring, she was actually a newcomer who arrived during COVID, so she didn't know that many people. And I think that just that program, even though it was on Zoom and it was, an employability program where we wanted to mentor and offer tips on employability skills, it was still a great way to teach people that everyone can belong in Quebec City. And I think that through that we really helped her, connect with us, and through that she connected also more to the city, I guess, because she got to know more people. So I think that was great, because I was born and raised here, so I feel like maybe from the get-go I kind of felt like I did belong. But then I think helping other people know that they belong as well is one of the best ways to feel like you belong. That's a really warm and goosebump inducing sentiment you just shared, because that idea of sharing your home makes your home so much more valuable. As I was telling you earlier, I'm moving out of my house, and I just had this urge for the longest time, because it is my childhood home and I formed so many memories there. I just had this urge to call my friends and spend that one last night there. I wanted to enjoy my home with the people that are close around me, and for some reason that made my home feel so much more special. And so that kind of goes with that same message or sentiment you're sharing, and I think it's truly important. One of the big points of advice that's been given on this podcast in the past is to get involved in your communities, get involved through volunteering, through community organizations, to just help strengthen and embetter your areas. In Montreal, a lot of people that I've spoken to really feel like they're not connected to their hometown. So this idea of being born and raised somewhere, and I'm really happy to hear that gave you a natural sense of connection to Quebec. But I know for a lot of youth our age, that's not the case. Slowly but surely, I've been trying to pick at this question, why it's different for everyone. And, whether it's a socioeconomic thing, whether it's a cultural thing, whether it's where you went to school, things like that. But what do you think it is specifically about? Do you think it's something specific about Quebec City that growing up here made you feel really connected? I can say I'm not a huge big city girl. maybe I don't know if this is a chicken and egg thing, because maybe it's because I was born here and it isn't that huge of a city, but I always say that Quebec is the best because it's kind of a mix of both, where you get some of the great qualities of a big city, but also the great qualities of a smaller city. And I think maybe that's partly the reason why I felt that I belonged here from the start, because it was exactly the type of city that I like. But again, I don't know if it's just because, I was born here. But yeah, I think for me, part of it is just loving where I live, and just I'm lucky because I get to love where I live. And I don't think that's necessarily given to everyone, and I think you might be right that sometimes it might be a socioeconomic thing, but maybe for some people the solution or the idea would be to find their niche, and maybe they haven't found their niche yet, and sometimes that makes it so much easier to feel like you belong. You don't need to I don't think you need to necessarily feel like you belong to the whole city, but say you join a little concert band in a suburb and it's for fun, but suddenly you're part of this little community and that's what you like, then I think that's as valid of a sense of belonging as anything else. And so I think I think it has to do with finding your niche, and again kind of brings back the subject of getting involved in just trying things and finding where you belong.
Well, if it's a mosaic, as we've been saying, or if it's a province that's broken up into many different segmentations of communities, then there's never going to be a way for one person to feel like they belong to every community or subculture in Quebec. So I like that call to action you provided, to get involved. I know this is now coming closer to the end. We're continuing to sound more and more like a broken record with each of these podcasts, but get involved. It is so important. And the more people I talk to, the more people I realize that getting involved is the key to feeling more connected to your community, feeling more connected to people. And meeting people through these communities helps you grow such an appreciation for these different cultures, for these different communities, for allophones and anglophones, and people that are francophone that are working in these community organizations and working hard to learn bits and pieces of other languages. People that I've been speaking to that are born here, French was their first language, they learned English, and now they're learning other languages to be able to do further community service. That it makes you appreciate those people so much more, because you realize Quebec truly is really diverse, and more diverse than we think. So, and I think that's one of the most Québécois things I've ever heard. Try new things and just go for it. One of the things, I feel like just my first few hours in the city today, because I'm staying at a hostel that is right near the Saint Jean Street, and right as I got here, there was a dude doing a cartwheel at full speed from the top of the Saint Jean Street to the bottom and just going for it. And I was like, I'm in Quebec. And I don't know if that's a common occurrence, but something about that was like, ça c'est mon province. You know what I mean? So thank you for that wonderful call to action, and I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing some wonderful perspectives on the ideas of belonging and your world here in Quebec City. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end it up?
Yes, well, thank you very much, and I just wanted to add a little something on one of the observations you made about our niches connecting us, and I wanted to bring it back a bit to language as well. I always tell my dad, I'm like, when I see someone English speaking in Quebec City, I feel this instant connection with them because it's kind of more rare, open quote. But it's really about also kind of being part of a niche. And for instance, when I go elsewhere abroad where they speak more English, for instance, in the US, if I see someone from Quebec who speaks French, I'm like, bonjour. I'm so happy because I don't know, we connect on on different levels, but it's always about, you know, these little things and these little niches, and just, you know, finding where we belong in that sense.
That story reminds me of being in Bled. Is a very, very, very small town. It's like a nice touristy spot in Slovenia. And my girlfriend and I went backpacking there in 2019. And we stopped in this small restaurant that was looking off at the massive lake that there was with a tiny island inside. But no one was in there. It was a completely empty restaurant. We sat down, we ordered our food, and a group of about 10 French Quebecois tourists came and sat down. And I heard them talking in French, and me and my girlfriend would play a game. It's like, okay, are they Quebecois French, or are they, are they from a different country? And this group specifically, I heard their accent, and then I started talking. I went and I started talking to them in French, and in that moment, there was so much joy shared between both my girlfriend and I's table and that entire group of people, that we found people from Quebec. There was so much pride in seeing people from Quebec there. And it's like, even though at the time, if I hadn't thought of this question ever, whether or not I felt like I belonged in Quebec, that experience of that pride of seeing people from your home province, that showed me right there that there's something that I'm connected to deeper within that province that, maybe I wasn't even sure that existed then. But I think that experience is a snapshot of what this idea of belonging in Quebec truly means. And I think you find your niche, but there are things that connect us all. And if we can hone down on those and find and appreciate those things, we're truly all connected here in this province in a way.
Yes, and I think that proves that some of the things that connect us all are already within us. And it's just a question of finding the right people or finding the right circumstance as well.
I think that's the perfect way to end it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And really quickly, tell everyone where they can find you. Tell them about your music. Tell them about your band. And tell them where you are.
Yes, so you can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I don't have much music posted yet, but I have a little piece that I have composed that is on there, if anyone is interested in hearing 7 oboes layered one on top of the other. So my name is Emma Ahern, so you can find it there probably. I probably won't be the first one to appear, but I should be there, or write oboe. I also have a little collaborative project slash pop single with one of my friends. It's a cover of a song that's called Waves, and so if you look up Waves Emma and Foan, Foan, you should find our little piano cover of it. And I also have a chamber music group. You can find us on Facebook at Le Concert Géopoétique, which is kind of a wordplay on, poetry and also geo, like the earth and everything. We're a group that aims to bring together heritage and classical music through different formats. So we're starting out, but you can find us and follow our projects on our Facebook page.
Thank you so much, Emma, for a really insightful conversation. Everybody, we're going to be hearing some of Emma's music at the end of this episode, so stick around for that. But before we jump into Emma's music, we're going to be hearing some poetry and a conversation with a local young poet and local leader, Samara O'Gorman. Samara has an initiative called Your Local Samaritan, where she highlights people in the community doing incredible work for their community. And so we're going to have a really interesting conversation. Before we do that, here's a bit of Samara's poetry.
Last year, I dismantled mortality with a word or two and confessed my attraction to other worlds. No longer a prisoner to mankind, find me in the tundra, humming a sweet tune titled Black Sheep. There seemed to be a tornado in the attic. I went up to investigate. Under dust and a pile of leaves, I found a nest of brain matter. Some deaths are good for us, yet we still grieve. In my eyes, even the conception of God is more fathomable than human existence. We took refuge in an old debilitated barn, black paint chipping, with a caved-in roof and rotting, dirty walls. We ate the last sprouting strawberries no bigger than a dime. You kept rolling your eyes, cursing at our state of shelter, but as long as I was with you, I was home.
Wow, that was chilling. Now let's jump right into the conversation with Samara and talk about some of these ideas and her initiatives. Samara, tell us a bit about all the wonderful initiatives you do in your community and a bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Samara O'Gorman. I'm a local actress and writer, and I just published my debut poetry collection titled What If the Sun Died? It's an accumulation of poems and thoughts on heartbreak, femininity, grief. And I also founded a kindness initiative called Your Local Samaritan last June.
That is amazing. A great slew of stuff to be able to be doing during a pandemic. So, Samara, tell us a bit more about this initiative. You know, when I saw this initiative, I was blown away by some of the posts, and it's really great that someone's doing this kind of work. So, tell us a bit more about it.
For sure. Yeah, like I said, it's called Your Local Samaritan, and I founded it last year. And let me preface this by saying that I actually was supposed to publish my book last year. But when the pandemic hit, I decided to put it on the back end for the time being and focus on something that I felt the community really needed at that time. It was around April and May, and I sat down, and this idea of launching a kindness initiative had been at the back of my head for quite a while, but it felt like there was no better time than during COVID to found it. So it's kind of a play on words with my name, Samaritan, Samara. When I was little, my mom used to call me a little Samaritan. And yeah, so the whole campaign is built on the basis of kindness and generosity and teaching others the importance of these things. And I also highlight local people in my community that are charitable to the society they live in, charitable to their friends, their community, and just really sharing like positive, happy, good news in those dark times that we had last year.
And what's amazing is that through this pandemic, we've seen a slew of great initiatives, just like what you're talking about, come into the communities at a time where we needed it most, helping bring this sense of belonging. You know, isolation can push you so far out of feeling involved and feeling a part of a community, that these initiatives are what's really keeping people together. So while going, I recommend everybody go and check out this Instagram page. It's filled with great people and great stories and great things.
Thank
And
you.
when I was going through it myself, it really did help build upon that sense of belonging. Now, how important do you think that sense of belonging is, Samara, to this initiative that you run, but also to the community as a whole?
Yeah, well, I think just the basis of kindness as a whole, I guess, can really link up with the sense of belonging and a community. Just to be nice to one another, to be nice to your neighbor, to be nice to your friend. One story that really stuck with me till this day that I focused on last autumn in September, it was with my friend John Schreier, and he took a one wheel across Canada to raise funds for the CMB Foundation, which is for cancer research. And just the constant optimism he held and the love for his community and the strive that he had to raise funds for something that is so, so vital. It stuck with me till this day. And just to see that selfless generosity that people can have and just constant kindness and trying to build each other up, not bring each other down. It's fundamental for any community really, and it really goes along well with belonging.
100%. I fully agree. And I think that these kindness initiatives, or other just these acts of selflessness, I think we've been seeing a lot more of them recently. And I think it's nice to see that when all the terrible things were happening in the world, slowly but surely, people in our communities, like throughout, now you're seeing more and more, just started responding to that negativity and that drought of sorrow that came with acts of kindness. And it's great that we have this initiative to kind of build upon it. But now I want to switch gears to your poetry. We're going to be hearing a little bit more of that later in the episode. Talk to me about your poetry. Talk to me about how growing up here and like all the influences that got you to write that great collection of poems.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess I could say first that this is a long time coming. I've been working on it for 3 or 4 years, and it really feels like something I had to do. It was quite a surprise to a lot of people because they know me as an actress on stage and in film, and I had never delved into the writing community before this book. But it was something in my life that I knew had to be done, and I couldn't be happier with the outcome. I had 2 main goals whilst writing this book. The first one, to go back to our previous conversation, was all about supporting local. And yeah, last year I was initially going to self-publish, but after the pandemic, I just realized how important it is to support local and to support your neighbors and your local community. So I found Labi Publishing, which is a Verdun-based publishing and writing group, and Lori, my publisher, is just amazing. She really ran with my vision and my creative outlook on everything. And then my second goal with the book was actually to give back to a nonprofit. So the portions of all the book sales from each book sold is going towards Jack.org, which is a nonprofit to help youth suicide prevention and mental health. And they had a really strong presence in my time at college when I was struggling a lot with my own mental health, and they had a lot of resources that helped me individually. So I decided to give back, and yeah, I've been in talks with a lot of Jack.org representatives, and they love the book and I love them, and it's been wonderful, and I can't wait to see where the journey takes me, because again, it was just published on the summer solstice.
I'd implore everyone to go check out Samara on Instagram. Samara, where can they find you, and where can they find this initiative, and where can they find your book?
Yeah, for sure. Time to plug things. I love. You can find me. My regular Instagram is at Samaritan. Again, it's a play on words. You can get my book at labi.ca, which is my publisher, and you can follow my kindness initiative at your local Samaritan. And if you have any stories about kindness or generosity, please come forth and tell me them. I always love to spread that.
That's amazing. And I hope all of you guys go and get this book of poetry. So going back onto the theme of today's episode, this idea of belonging in which your initiative really greatly contributes to. How do you feel that your belongingness towards Quebec or Montreal culture has influenced your writing or your initiative?
Yeah, it's an awesome question. I guess I could answer that first by saying there's such a big difference between, resonating with someone or being there for someone versus making someone feel like they belong. I think there's a huge difference there, actually, to really make someone feel involved in their community and really invite them with open arms. And again, my book is kind of centered on that feeling of new birth and new light. It's called What If the Sun Died? And I feel like we all felt that last year. We all had our own sun die in some shape or form, some version. If our sun was, friends we couldn't see in a very long time, school, hobbies, work, we were all in our room isolating. And during that time, we had so much freedom to create, and I really worked hard on this book. And something I really want my readers to know is that it's so important to learn from those dark times and persevere through them to reach the light and hold on to those light attributes to life, like kindness and generosity and belonging. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Samara. Thank you for a very insightful conversation. Everyone, you can find the links to all of Samara's work down in the description below. And I implore everybody to check it out because it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative. Thank you, Samara. And yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks so much to both these young leaders for contributing to this podcast and sharing your stories. Guys, this episode perfectly caps off these conversations we've been having for the past few months about belonging and about identity and how we can truly come to terms with the grandeur of how this mosaic looks. Find your niche, find your people, and just get involved. These are words that we've been hearing again and again throughout these episodes, and they're ringing truer and truer as we go on. So I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for making it through these 10 episodes with me and for learning so much along this ride. I truly appreciated and loved every conversation I had. I learned so much from everyone I got the opportunity to talk to, and I was so amazed by the amazing artists that we have around this province. Now, I know I'm making this sound like a goodbye, but we have one big episode left before the end of season 1 of C'est La Vie, and that is with Christopher Skeet. It will be airing immediately after our closing event that we're having for the podcast, October 2nd at the Montreal Arts Center. If you guys want to save yourself a spot, there's still time. Go to the Y4Y website under upcoming events and register yourself. Get your e-ticket and get ready for an event that will knock your socks off. And friends, before we jump to Emma's song, I'm gonna say it one last time, loud and proud and more clearly than ever. You are the culture. We are the culture, so go out there, keep your voices heard, and please, let's keep building upon this ever-changing mosaic that is the Quebec identity. Because each and every single one of you belong here, and each and every single one of you have a right to love and live in our beautiful province of Quebec. Thank you for making it to the end of the episode. I want to give a big thank you to Canadian Heritage for always supporting this project, and a special thanks to all of you for keeping these voices heard. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely rest of your day.